January 12. I am Uyai Imam. Come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of the Crown State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government secures $747 million loan for Lagos Calabar Highway. House of Representatives Committee invites Governor Mutfwang along others over plateau crisis. Plus, South Korea's ex-president Yoon detained again after martial law. We'll bring you the details of these news stories in a moment. Stay with us. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. First on our news stories this afternoon is from the national scene where Vice President Kashim Shettima has raised alarm over the scale of malnutrition in Nigeria, warning that the condition is depriving nearly 40% of children under the age of 5 of their full physical and cognitive potential. Speaking at the National Summit on Nutrition and Food Security held in Abuja, Shettima, who is represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Office of the Vice President, Senator Ibrahim Hadejia, described the situation as a national crisis that must be tackled urgently and collectively. The Vice President announced that the federal government had launched the Nutrition 774 initiative, a grassroots focused program aimed at addressing malnutrition in the country's most neglected communities. According to him, the initiative has been approved by the National Council on Nutrition, which he chairs. Away from that, the federal government has secured a $747 million loan to finance Phase 1, Section 1 of the Lagos Calabar Highway. The Ministry of Finance announced yesterday that Dosishi Bank arranged the facility. Meanwhile, Phase 1, Section 1 of the highway is from Victoria Island to Eleko Village. A statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations, Mohammed Maga, indicated that it was the first syndicated road infrastructure loan of its size in Nigeria and a strong signal of global investor confidence in the country's reform trajectory and infrastructure pipeline. Moving on to the activities of the Red Chambers, the Senate has approved the Electricity Act Amendment Bill 2025 through second reading in a move to rescue the country's ailing power sector from looming collapse. Sponsored by Senator Ainaya Abaribe Abia South, the amendment seeks to overhaul the 2023 Electricity Act by addressing regulatory gaps as some lawmakers propose capital punishment for vandals. Leading the debate, Senator Abaribe, who also chairs the Senate Committee on Power, warned that the country's electricity industry is buckling under the weight of inefficiencies and financial mismanagement as the federal government is currently indebted to the tune of over 4 trillion naira in the power sector. Meanwhile, the Senate has mandated a joint committee to investigate the alarming rise of Ponzi schemes across the country following the collapse of the crypto bullion exchange CBEX, which has reportedly defrauded investors of over 1.3 trillion naira. The decision followed a motion sponsored by Senator Adetokunbo Abiru, Lagos East. In a motion, the lawmaker expressed deep concern over the unchecked spread of fraudulent investment schemes, including the infamous MMM Nigeria 2016, MBA Forex 2020, most recently the CBEX, which lured millions of Nigerians with promises of high returns on digital assets. Lawmakers in a debate warned that CBEX collapse had devastating financial and psychological consequences, pushing victims into depression, family breakdowns, and in some tragic cases, suicide. Over to the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives ad hoc committee on security challenges in Plateau State has invited Governor Caleb Mutfwang, former governor and lawmaker representing Plateau South in the National Assembly, Senator Simon Lalong, as well as key stakeholders from the state to be part of a high-level security conference to find a solution to the incessant attacks and security breaches in the state. Other prominent individuals who were also invited to be part of the rally include former governors Jonah Jang and Joshua Darie, federal and state lawmakers, local government chairmen, traditional and religious leaders, as well as heads of security agencies, including the Army, Police, DSS, NSCDC, and officials of Operation Safe Haven. Also invited are civil society groups, youth leaders, the Christian Association of Nigeria CAN, Jamatu Nasrul Islam, Mayati Allah, the Plateau Initiative for the Development and Advancement of the Natives, PIDAN, and international peace building bodies such as the United Nations Office for West Africa and the Sahel and the African Union Peace and Unity Division have also been invited. In another development, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has responded to the allegation that he worked for former head of state, the late General Sani Abacha. In a post on X on Wednesday, Obi released a document from 1996 to debunk the allegation that he worked for the military leader who ruled Nigeria from 1993 until his death in 1998. Recall that Reno Mokri, a critic of Obi, had accused him of working with the former head of state, but the former Anambra State governor released the documents to clarify his position. We move now to Africa, where the United States President Donald Trump on Wednesday hosted presidents of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal at the White House in Washington, D.C. The meeting focused on business opportunities as the African leaders sought partnership to develop their resources. According to reports, during the lunch at the state's dining room, Trump said the leaders hail from very vibrant places with very valuable land, great minerals, great oil deposits, and wonderful people. Trump also hinted that the five countries were unlikely to face U.S. tariffs. At the meeting, Gabon's President Brice Oligui Nguema told Trump his country was open to investment and wanted to see its raw mineral resources processed locally, which would require more investments. Still in Africa, Kenya's president on Wednesday broke his silence over recent anti government protests that left dozens dead, saying he would not allow anarchy in the country disguised as peaceful demonstrations. President William Ruto said enough was enough and urged police to shoot in the leg those involved in shooting and burning businesses. Weeks of protests have rocked Kenya after a blogger died in police custody last month, angering many Kenyans. Tensions heightened after a policeman shot a civilian at close range during one of the demonstrations against police brutality. Thousands turned out for a protest on June 25, which coincided with the 1 year anniversary of huge anti tax protest. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump imposed a 50% tariff on a key Brazilian steel supplier on Wednesday as he called for an end to the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro on charges of attempting to stage a coup. In a letter to Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Trump called the trial an international disgrace. Brazil and the United States escalated their row Wednesday over President Donald Trump's support for coup accused ex leader Jair Bolsonaro, with the American president slapping a 50% tariff on one of its main steel suppliers. Trump has strongly criticized the persecution of right wing ally Bolsonaro, who is on trial for allegedly plotting to cling to power after his supporters stormed parliament following his 2022 election loss to leftist Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Trump then announced he would slap a 50% tariff on Brazilian imports starting August 1st, citing Brazil's insidious attacks on free elections and warning of escalation if the country retaliates. Still on the foreign scene, South Korea's disgraced ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol was detained for a second time Thursday over his declaration of martial law and held in a solitary cell as investigators widened their insurrection probe. Yoon plunged South Korea into a political crisis when he sought to subvert civilian rule December 3rd, 2024, sending armed soldiers to parliament in a bid to prevent lawmakers voting down his declaration of martial law. He became South Korea's first sitting president to be taken into custody when he was detained in a dawn raid in January after he spent weeks resisting arrest, using his presidential security detail to head off investigators. But he was released on procedural grounds in March, even as his trial on insurrection charges continued. After Yoon's impeachment was confirmed by the court in April, he again refused multiple summons from investigators, prompting them to seek his detention once more to ensure cooperation. Still to come in the news. Messi makes history after scoring two goals for Inter Miami. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now to conclude the news this hour. In business, Nigeria's currency, the naira, depreciated against the dollar at the official foreign exchange market 24 hours after recording gains. According to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the naira dropped to 1,529 naira 22 kobo against the dollar on Tuesday, compared to 1,528 naira 33 kobo on Monday. The development means that the naira weakened by 0.89 naira to the dollar on a day-to-day basis. Meanwhile, on the black market, the naira remained flat against the dollar at 1,550 naira on Tuesday, the same rate as the previous day. Recall that the naira appreciated across foreign exchange markets on Monday. Still in business, the Dangote refinery has announced plans to dump imports from the United States and other countries and rely 100% on domestic crude. According to Bloomberg, the vice president of Dangote Industries, Kumar Edwin, made this known during an interview. Edwin noted that Dangote Refinery received half of its crude in June from local producers who will be able to sell more to the facility as their foreign supply obligations end. According to Bloomberg, in June, the refinery sourced 53% of its crude supply from domestic producers and 47% from the United States. On our health news, following the latest flood risk alert by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, the National Emergency Management Agency has deployed mobile intensive care unit ambulances to some of its operation offices across the country. The Director General of NEMA, Zubaida Umar, said the approval of the deployment followed an assessment that revealed critical equipment gaps in some of the field offices. A statement from the agency indicated that ambulances had been dispatched to NEMA's operational offices in Kaduna, Owerri, and Uyo. The decision, Umar noted, was based on vulnerability assessments and logistical considerations. Still in health, three people were killed by flash floods in the United States of New Mexico, officials said Tuesday, just days after a devastating deluge claimed more than 100 lives in neighboring Texas. The historic flash flood struck Ruidoso, a small town about 150 miles south of Albuquerque, New Mexico. According to a statement, the victims, a man and two children, were caught in rushing floodwaters and carried downstream. Authorities said dozens of rescues had also been conducted, with search operations still underway. Reports say the National Weather Service declared a flash flood emergency earlier in the day. To sports news now, where Inter Miami captain Lionel Messi made history after scoring a brace in his side's Major League Soccer MLS win against New England in the early hours of today. A brace from Messi ensured Inter Miami defeated New England in an away fixture at the Gillette Stadium. The Argentina forward scored the two goals in the first half during the encounter. His goals against the home team means Messi has now become the first player in the history of the MLS to score two goals plus in four consecutive regular season matches. Still in sport, Fabian Ruiz scored twice as European champions Paris Saint-Germain turned on the style in the reunion with Kylian Mbappe on Wednesday, thrashing Real Madrid 4-0 in the semi-finals of the Club World Cup to set up a final showdown with Chelsea. Ruiz and Ousmane Dembele scored inside the opening 9 minutes to stun Real and silence the majority of the 77,542 crowd who were wearing white at the Midfield Lot Stadium outside New York. The Spanish midfielder added another before halftime, and Goncalo Ramos got a late fourth as Luis Enrique's side moved one game away from glory at FIFA's new tournament. Meanwhile, victory against Chelsea on Sunday would complete a campaign of unparalleled success for the Parisians, who won the French title and won the first UEFA Champions League in their history in May. Lastly, in the news at this hour in entertainment, Nigerian singer Terry G has finally responded to allegations that he hijacked the song Pass Me Your Love from his colleague and collaborator AY.com. Recall that Terry G faced criticism for performing the track, which featured him as a guest artist at his shows in years past. Critics accused him of appropriating the song from AY.com by frequently performing it at events. Addressing the long-standing allegations via his ex handle recently, Terry G described the claims as pure ignorance, asserting that he has every right to perform a song on which he was a featured artist. He further alleged that the controversy surrounding the supposed hijacking contributed to the decline of AY.com's career. And that's all we have on the news at this hour. Do what follows on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.